Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Elev8 Project podcast. My name's Ryan, and we are continuing our discussion. This is part 2 of December family time. And in part 2, what I'm going to be focusing on is closing up work, closing up content creation, YouTube, podcast, all the things, and my strategy and my thought process behind it. So I talked about in part 1 where December, there is a lot of opportunity for some to take a lot of time off during December. And we work so hard throughout the year that we sometimes neglect, and not on purpose necessarily, on spending time with family, taking the time to disconnect from work. And depending on what you do, that might be very, very difficult, especially if Christmas time is your high season. And for some, that might be non-issue. And I'm using December as an example for me. That may not be for you. Maybe when we're talking about family time, December, the time that you have off, that you can reconnect, that may be the summertime. And I think the most important thing that I want to discuss is if you have something like YouTube, content creation, maybe you're an entrepreneur, and when there is time to disconnect and you decide that I am going to take time off, my family is going to take time off, and that is going to be the time where I dedicate my everything, 100%. Be present is something that I talk about a lot, is being present. How do you disconnect? How do you ensure that you're not completely halfway in, halfway out to ensure that there is still success in whatever you're doing? Some people thrive in the month of December when it comes to sales, in business, and all the things. If this is you probably are not going to be spending a long period of time in December for family time. That might be dedicated to Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And that's okay. My strategy is to ensure that I take out the normal flow of how I create content. This is my time from my 9 to 5 to book the last 2 weeks off of December so I can spend that quality time with my family. Every situation's different, and for me, I got 2 kids. They're both in school, and this is the time where I can spend time with them for a good solid 2 weeks, even though we're not going anywhere extravagant for vacation. This is a period of time where I can reconnect. We can watch movies together, go bowling. We have this, maybe not the safest for those of you that might be against this. We have a trampoline room. We call it Flying Squirrel or something like that. My kids absolutely love it. They went for a birthday party and they wanted to go back, and I said, sure. My daughter collects rocks, so we're going to spend time at the beach and go through, collect rocks, wash them out, and pick the ones that she wants, learn about them. There's this beach that's close or fairly close where they even have some fossils that you can also pick up. Maybe not allowed to take away from the actual location. We'll see. We're also looking at rock tumbling. So that might be something hopefully we can get into it and maybe get something for Christmas for her to enjoy. I thought at first for my daughter, it was kind of like a phase where like, oh, collecting rocks. We'd go for a walk. My wife would get completely angry because when we got home, we put the coats away and her pockets were just full of these rocks. It was like, oh my gosh. My son, he's into cars, so a lot of Hot Wheels. and just loves automobiles, playing, and it's great with cars because he can definitely play alone. He's a smart kid. He's good at reading. He's good at pretty much everything physical. He's good at martial arts, soccer, anything you put him in. He's natural talent. Soccer is his kind of me time. And I always feel bad sometimes because I can't spend hours upon hours just building different Hot Wheels systems or car tracks that he enjoys. I mean, this kid has a ton of cars. It's like we have a dollar store, obviously, that has Hot Wheels, and they're like super cheap, and it's hard to say no versus other things that cost $10, $20 for a toy. And we try to keep it even. My daughter's in a lot of dance, so we try to even it out as much as we can to be as fair as possible. So he's got a ton of cars, and he just enjoys just spending that time to organize them, talk about them, race them, and all the things. And of course, my relationship with my wife as well, to rekindle and have a date night, have a babysitter for one or two of the evenings. This is why, from as long as I can remember, for New Year's this year, where my wife and I were able to just spend time with our friends without the kids and be able to stay a little bit later and not too worried. It's been COVID and the pandemic, of course, so the last couple of years wasn't an issue. We stayed home, we did the thing, and it was a great time. We had close family members and neighbors that we had, I don't want to say partnerships with, really good friends, obviously, and we're not worried about, during the pandemic, you kind of created these partnerships to ensure safety and also social ability. So that always comes into effect as well. The thing that I look forward to and when I look back to is not having that worry. Because if I look back, I think the last time my wife and I actually spent time with our close friends for a New Year's party is well over a decade, maybe even 15 years. And don't get me wrong, because we've all have families now, we have kids, New Year's is a family thing, and we've definitely moved away from each other. Some not so far, as many as others. And I think those times when we were younger were these holidays that would be the 1 or 2 times a year we got to see each other. And even our kids aren't able to really connect, especially because of the pandemic. There's a lot of things that happen relationship-wise, and you sometimes take for granted that, they just live 5 minutes away, and you end up seeing people that live an hour and a half, 2 hours out of town more than those close friends that you used to hang out with almost every day, in our situation during university, almost every day, and they're 5 minutes away. You sometimes take that for granted. So this is going to be a good December, and my plan is I have 1 week off where I'm done my 9 to 5 and my kids are still in school. And then the week after that, my kids are done school and I'm at home and we're able to do all the things I just talked about. Then we're going to get ready for Christmas and New Year's. So my plan is during that week is to accomplish a lot, to batch record a few weeks of the podcast. There's a lot of different topics that I want to talk about, especially going into 2023. Goal setting, productivity, refocus, motivation, inspiration, possibly even a digital product or something that I can give to you my audience, people listening, people watching my YouTube channel, and also kind of refocusing on what I need to do to grow. There's a couple things when it comes to video. Everyone wants to elevate and enhance their video quality, their audio quality, their sequences. And I think about the content that I create. And it is really about the simplistic and the least amount of friction to get done. I do a lot of talking head videos for a reason, and there's a couple things that you can do with talking head is, of course, create the content, think about the B-roll, and while you're editing the A-roll, figuring out, oh my goodness, it'd be great to show this, and then record something after. And that is kind of what I want to ensure that I get done during that week, or maybe even change my workflow. Maybe I'll share my workflow. Maybe that might be a good video, because I want to be able to have the holidays done and not worried and double check, triple check social media. Am I going to disconnect from my 9 to 5? 100%. Am I going to disconnect completely from my brand, the Elev8 project, the social media aspect of it, the YouTube comments, and the podcast? Probably not. I don't think, one, social media is easy access to reply to a comment, easy access to post something very quickly. Because for me, I would say, since I started the YouTube channel, the Elev8 project, I'm not really focusing on the other social media platforms other than YouTube. Podcasts, for sure, this just started, and there isn't as much comments coming through for me to reply to just yet, which is okay. I'm going to make some effort to revamp my website to enhance my email list. I want to be able to create a community now where I'm building a little bit more connection. And if you're interested, go check out my website, elev8project.com. If you go down to the bottom, put in your email. And I'm going to be doing more consistently in the new year a newsletter, more so a video newsletter, just to let you know what's going on, what's happening, things behind the scenes. I really want to encourage and inspire and motivate and help elevate anybody that is starting up a YouTube channel. Maybe they are working online, presenting online, and video is such a good practice. Even if you don't want to build a YouTube channel, to practice presentations, practice building confidence on camera, even not just YouTube, but the 9 to 5, more so we think about public speaking as that big fear, is the virtual presentation platform now, where we could be presenting to a lot of stakeholders, and they have access to other people to view what you're presenting and really tear it down if they want to, versus in person, they have that glimpse and memory in their mind. Not saying that everybody you're going to present to is going to record your presentation and go over it 100 times to really see and really engage what you presented. Probably not. It's always the presenter that probably puts a lot more fear on themselves than anything else. So those are the things that is going to be really exciting in 2023. And for the month of December for me is getting those things done in that 1 week. And how do I do that? How do I plan that? Well, I'm planning now. It's always starting to plan ahead. And what I love about this whole content creation, and I know I've kind of talked about my website, these are things that are assets. I think it's really important for anyone that is starting to take things like content creation a little bit more seriously is creating assets that they control, that they can produce if anything happens to social media platforms or wherever you host your content, that can create a significant amount of income and reach depending on the content that you're creating. I want people to be able to have access to the content that I'm creating, even if something like happens to YouTube, something happens to Instagram, something happens to the Facebook and the TikTok, etc. So I'm making a conscious effort to make the website a little bit more inviting, a little bit more organized. I have a lot of links out, for example, YouTube. That being said, all my videos I've archived, so if I ever needed to, I can repost them on my website. I just have to pay a little bit for the hosting, obviously. And the ideas that I have to really give everyone value, my email list that I'm starting to create, and even though I have an Instagram account for the Elev8 project as well as Pinterest and TikTok. See, I have to think about this because my main focus is YouTube, obviously, and I want to ensure that that's growing steadily and consistently before I can really move some of my efforts to really focus in on other platforms, because this is not something that I think is easy for me. I know some people feel that it's really easy to build a following of 1,000+ followers on any social media platform. It's just not something that I need to be very cautious about. I have to do my research. Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? And I'm kind of planning out the type of content that I create on those things, not just because it's native for that platform, because if they're going there for a reason and you're creating content to help people, reach people, serve people, they're going to be going on different platforms for different reasons. Just like myself, I'm going to YouTube for a different reason than I am going to Instagram, or I'm going to TikTok, those type of things. So I'm going to make a little bit more of a conscious effort in 2023 to still focus on YouTube, but also focus on my website. And I'm going to start focusing some effort on Instagram. Even though Instagram is not what I want to focus Instagram on, I understand that in this particular world that we live in, you kind of have to play the game with the social media platforms and what they want you to do to grow. You got to play by their rules. And the reason why I say that is I'm also going to take the time in December to hone in on my photography skills. I've been learning photography just recently, like literally just recently, because I now have two cameras. I have a Sony ZV-10 and I got this Sony FX30. I do have a Sony 850-100. That is, I'm selling that right now, so it's not really something that I'm using as my photo camera or the camera that I'm using focused on photography. I'm trying to learn as much as I can using the different lenses that I own, using the Sony ZV-10. Christmas time, December, New Year's is a great time for me to practice and hone in those skills. When it comes to software, I know Photoshop is an amazing tool, and because I'm not taking photography as seriously as I am with videography and YouTube and video in general, I ended up opting to learn Affinity. I ended up purchasing the Affinity Suite, which includes Affinity Photo, Design, and I forget what the publishing, or maybe not, Affinity Photo, Design, and I think there's one more application that is involved in that suite. And Photoshop, and one of the main differences, and I'm sure, don't get me wrong, when I think about Photoshop, Lightroom, photography, what Adobe's doing, I get it, everyone's doing, is a subscription model. And because I'm still learning, and I believe that Photoshop probably gives you a lot more powerful tools outside of the basics, and because I'm just learning the basics, and I think Affinity, based on what I've done my research, is a powerful tool when it comes to design and editing photos. And maybe in the future, Lightroom and Photoshop might be something that I'll use. I want to spend the time to do some learning within photography and make beautiful photos and learn Affinity Photo and Design, and maybe transition those skills into my YouTube channel for learning, as well as my thumbnails and all the other things that I'm using, stock footage, stock photos, etc., and working with different things to have the things in my mind, which has been, I don't want to say limited. I'm limited because what I have in my mind and what I want to do, I just don't have the skills to do. So when I'm looking at a photo and want to do something, I'm actually searching for what I have in my head, and it's never the same. Where now that I'm learning photography, if I learn what I hope I will learn, I'll be able to have those images in my head and those sequences, and I'll be able to take those photographs myself. Woo! That is a lot. So it's already December, obviously. I think, in the filming of this, part 1 and part 2, it's the week of December 5th. It is such an amazing week, knowing that I am closing in on some vacation, and I'm going to be one of the first to say well-deserved vacation based on all the things that I've been doing in 2022. For those of you that have the opportunity to take some vacation in the month of December, I'm going to trust, and you can look in the mirror and say that you deserve it. You need the time to recharge, refocus, and get set for 2023. And New Year is always exciting. And I think it's also that mindset that there is a new year that enables us to just restart mentally, have that mental break, and get back into it to whatever our endeavors are. So with that in mind, if you are liking this content, you're liking the podcast, I would love and appreciate if you can go down to the comments, rate the podcast. 5 stars would be amazing, especially on the major podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And go to my website if you want to send me a question, and depending on what platform you're on, definitely send me a message on my website as well. It is elev8project.com, Elev8 project.com. Don't be shy. Say hello. Say hi. There's certain topics that you want me to talk about. This is the long form where I can really you can really pick my brain. And yes, in 2023, I know a lot of people talked about it, doing some live, either on Instagram or YouTube live. I'm looking into that. It's just finding the time where I can segment either in the morning or in the evening or in the weekends. That is coming soon in 2023. I think I'll at least do a couple in the first 3 months, just so I can feel and see if it's something that I could do regularly or if it's what people want in my audience. But with that being said, let's get into it. It's December. Whatever you're doing, We will be talking to you soon. Be safe, stay awesome, and I'll catch you in the next episode.